Hope everyone is having a great Tuesday. I am answering question 9 that asks, how can we as a nation make it more plausible for low-income families to send their child to college? Please give specifics, not just to say make it cheaper. So before talking about making it cheaper, which will be a topic, I think it really starts in grade school. What kind of classes are offered to students? There was a article written somewhat recently that talked about how children of low-income backgrounds were not given the same opportunities for AP or IB courses in school despite what they test. And so they're finding that students who come from middle class and up families have a better advantage in education and course load despite the equality of brightness of students. So I think that needs to get addressed. Another issue that needs to get addressed is how we have mandatory testing to get into a university. So most schools, most universities decide if you are worthy of going based on your ACT or SAT scores. In the Midwest, I think they do ACT, but I did high school in New Jersey, and so we did SATs. So I can kind of only draw from that, even though all of my other grade school, I grew up in Illinois. For SAT testing, it is about $52 a test, sometimes more. And at least in New Jersey, most of the time, the testing is not done in your school. It's kind of a random thing. I know me personally, I took it twice, and both times I drove at least 30 minutes outside of where I lived and outside of my town to a totally different school. So I could see for a low-income family, one, how the cost of the test would be a factor, a determining factor on whether or not they wanted to do it. And then just being able to get to the test would be another obstacle, especially if they had parents that were working and they didn't have a vehicle to get themselves there. So I think that is a huge issue. Another issue too is if you're going to do well on these SAT tests, a lot of the times you either need to buy material to study for them or you need to take an outside class. So both of those things are going to cost money. So here we are now, if you take the test once, if you drive, if you do a course, it could be $200 minimum just to be able to have the opportunity to get into college and or get scholarships. The other one is how many different colleges kids apply to and what scholarships are available. Most colleges have an application fee. That's going to be a factor for a lot of students, especially if they're paying to do other things. While $60 may not be a lot for most of us, it can be a lot for those low-income families. To earn $60, to have $60 extra takes a lot of work and effort, especially when they maybe don't have a support system at home because their parents didn't go to college or their aunts and uncles and grandparents. They could be the first one that really wants to get an education. And with having the costs associated and the lack of support, it could be a huge deterrent for a lot of students. So I think that's one issue that really needs to get looked at and tweaked. We need to make these things more easily accessible for all students. I think we need to have more scholarships available for students, especially those that come from low-income families. I think we need to stress the importance of higher education in our education system. Let's see, just going to the topic of making college cheaper, I think it does need to be more affordable for students, and not just the tuition itself, but the living expenses for students need to be cheaper, the food plans need to be cheaper, and the interest rates that people are taking loans out on. Because I think it's easy for a lot of students to say, well, you can just take a loan out. But the reality of the situation is that for most people, one, finding a job after college can be difficult. And then the realization that you're going to be 35, 40 before your loan is paid off is a scary thought. So I think those things are all pretty huge factors in students deciding not to go to university. And I think those are all things that need to be addressed and looked at. So those are my thoughts. I am excited to hear what other people have to say. Great questions, Brody. Have a great day, guys.